Hello everybody, Path of Exile. I've been playing this game for a very long time. Obligatory dang I'm old joke. And here is something that I've felt about PoE for a while now. It is in need of some serious competition. I've been thinking about making this video for close to 2 years now, but I could never quite find the right words to explain my feelings. Well, with the launch of Sentinel League, I've received the catalyst that I need to find those words. Before I get into any details, let me start here with the overarching premise. Grinding Gear Games, the developers, have become complacent with their current product of Path of Exile. I say current product because, and as anyone who follows this game will already know, Path of Exile 2 is in active development and has been for some time now. But we'll touch on that more later. The point is, GGG has ultimately been taking their active player base for granted in more ways than one. That's a bold statement if I've ever heard one, so let's dive in. Feel the weight. This is a buff. We've heard you. These are all common phrases thrown around the PoE community and are used to denote criticism towards the game's many mechanics and even core design pillars. While the origins of each phrase are different, their use case is the same: to vocalize the out-of-touch nature of GGG's development. They encapsulate to me, and I'm sure a whole lot of others, the now inevitability that each new league brings with it. Leagues are just big content updates for those who don't play. The inevitability that some questionable at best and lazy or even straight up neglectful at worst decisions are made. Unfortunately, I don't have any data to back this claim up, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Just ask anyone else who follows this game. Here's an example. The previous league, Arch Nemesis, was all about killing specific monsters to gain specific materials to use in specific recipes. The problem was players were given literally zero information on those specific things. There was no in-game info on which monsters dropped what, or even what those drops then did. All you, as the player, knew was that you had to kill, collect, and combine. Heck, there wasn't even an option to see the recipes and combinations that you had already figured out and used. Better whip out that good old pen and paper there, brother. Therefore, finding out what to kill, what to collect, and what to combine was all down to either A, trial and error, or B, external research. Now, trial and error isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Ultimately, Path of Exile is a game about killing and collecting after all, so having an entire mechanic revolve around those two things shouldn't be too hard to figure out for most players, is probably what GGG said while developing Arch Nemesis. And to a degree, they're right. I'm not saying PoE, or any game for that matter, needs to hold the player's hand and explain to them exactly what's going on in order for those players to have a good experience. Elden Ring? But come on, we're essentially talking about collecting Pokemon without a Pokédex here. What's the reason to not include it? Just assuming players are going to figure it out anyway with various online and community-made tools? Now, I'm not here to give you a comprehensive list of everything that could be interpreted as a questionable choice over the past 2 or 3 years of development. I'm just here to talk about why those things are happening and hopefully create some discourse on it. Just if you really need some more examples, remember that we had to manually pick up each metamorph organ? Oh, I'm really feeling the way now. Going back to what I said earlier, GGG has become complacent with current PoE. Allow me to restate that a little bit. They're taking advantage of their current player base's loyalty. The best example I can use to back this is the new mystery box that came with the Sentinel League. If you know absolutely nothing on PoE's monetization practices, it is a free-to-play game with all content fully unlocked and available to all players. The only things gated behind a paywall are cosmetic and slightly gameplay-altering microtransactions. I say slightly altering because the only things that could be considered even remotely pay to win would be stash tabs, because in a game where your primary goal is to collect items to become stronger, you need storage space for said items, but the question that becomes, is the space you're given by default enough? And the argument can be made both ways, because a seeming lack of space teaches a new player to not hoard every single last item, and once they get a good grasp on that, then yes, it's plenty of space, but then you also have to consider even more experienced players who have interacted with various league mechanics. It's mostly just a bunch of cosmetics. Regardless of your stance on the pricing of said cosmetics, something that I think has gotten way out of hand in free-to-play games in general, this new mystery box showcases the absolute worst side of GGG. Yes, dear viewer who is just now hearing about Path of Exile but has experience with other games that normalize the predatory nature of loot boxes, PoE's mystery boxes are exactly what you're thinking of. The thing that really irks me about the new Sentinel box is that they've changed how it distributes rewards and framed it as a net positive for the player. Don't believe me? Why would they feel the need to put this in the thumbnail of the video? And why would Chris, the lead developer and co-founder of the entire company, have felt the need to explain this new version of the loot box as exciting? I think you know why. Just in case you think I'm pulling this stuff out of thin air, let's take a look at the changes themselves, shall we? First off, they raised the price from 30 points or $3 a box to 50 points or $5 a box. Then they changed the rewards from being static to now evolving based on various gameplay situations, such as killing monsters, using a specific type and number of weapon attacks, so on. And finally, they removed duplicate rewards. Wow, holy moly, oh my word, no more wasting my hard-earned points on getting the same reward that has literally no function, aside from some janky hideout decorations that myself and the vast majority of people purchasing loot boxes don't care about to begin with, and whose sole purpose is to oversaturate the loot pool, making it harder to get what we actually want in the first place. Dang, that's so cool of them. It sure makes me want to go buy some loot boxes. Except, duplicates still exist. They're just different colors now. What? Purposely and meticulously worded marketing that paints a picture not necessarily reflected in reality? Here you can see the body armor in the loot box, which is often the piece of loot that is most sought after by players. That's why it's listed first, which has 4 different variations. What are the differences between them? This one changes based on your fire resistance. This one, your lightning, and this one, your cold. The higher the values, the shinier the armor becomes. But what about this one? Well, dear viewer, it uses all of your resistances and looks extra shiny. Ooh. It's better. That's what they were saying without saying it. It is all but directly pushed as the superior product. Why else would the odds of acquiring it be lower? But Woolie, there are other products in the box too, and you'd be getting those at the same time, which increases the overall value you're getting from your money aside from just a thing you're actually wanting to get. Oh, so you are the person defending bloatware being installed on the vast majority of PCs. Hey guys, look, I found them. They do exist. Without being facetious anymore, yes, I am fully aware that the entire point of loot boxes is that they are built around that around that artificial value. You obtain things in bulk for cheap that would normally cost much higher amounts individually. And yes, in this situation, as you buy more boxes, the higher your odds are of getting the MTX that you actually want due to the no duplicates. But hey, GGG recoloring and repacking the same reward while also labeling it as no duplicates is blatantly disingenuous. There is no other way around it. Also, hey, GGG marketing team, try to remember that while cleverly phrasing things to be technically true but offer a very different reality is cool and all, you probably shouldn't say things that are 100% inaccurate, such as, there are 14 microtransactions that you can find in the Sentinel mystery box. There are 14 base types for then the 61 total microtransactions that you can find in the Sentinel mystery box. Phrase that however you'd like, but again, try not to be that obvious with your deception next time. But hey, don't worry guys, they made it so that if you wanted to get a duplicate of something for whatever reason, you can just buy it directly from the store after you obtain it randomly from the box. Cool, that's awesome. Instead of, just being able to buy it directly from the store in the first place. All right, I've said all I need to say on the new box. I am not going to increase the scope of this video any further by devolving into the ethical microtransactions discussion. Someone keep tally of all of the devs have to eat too comments. If you want to see something similar to that though, let me know. Let's go back one final time to the original topic, competition. I believe that fundamentally the lack of proper competition for PoE is what's causing the developers to get away with their various shenanigans. And in my mind, there is only one game that even comes remotely close to filling the proper role of competition, Diablo 4. Be honest here, how many times have you explained PoE to somebody and their first reaction was, oh, you mean like Diablo? Seriously, at least for me, this happens all the time. In fact, Diablo still has PoE beat on namesake alone. The number of people who are aware of PoE's existence pale in comparison to those who recognize Diablo. That's a simple fact, one that hopefully changes over time, mind you, but a fact nonetheless. And yes, I know of Last Epoch as well, but guys, lay off the copium some, would ya? Remember when I said that I'd talk more about PoE 2? Yeah, this is why. Games that are still in development aren't competing with current Path of Exile. They're competing with what is also in development, Path of Exile 2. And how does Last Epoch compare? Not very well. Sorry guys, I know that's a harsh truth to some of you, but Last Epoch cannot even come close to delivering what PoE 2 can. At least not anytime soon. And note that I said can, not will. And don't get me wrong, I do not think that Diablo 4 is going to be some game changer that comes out and completely annihilates PoE and then takes back all of the player base and then some. No, not at all. I mean, just look at Blizzard's track record as of late. Hey guys, what if we make like 2 new heroes and then maybe some UI changes and then call it an entirely new game? Anybody? Fred? You are now the CEO. Congratulations. To sum it all up, I love PoE. Despite what you may have gathered from this video, I am still having fun playing it to this day. But that's exactly why I'm making this video. I love this game. I mean, not like that. That sounded kind of weird. It's come so incredibly far since the Razor Footprints days. That's a throwback there for some of you. And it just pains me to see where it's been headed for years now. Perhaps I need to say this directly. I understand that PoE 2 is going to be an objectively better product because of how all of these new leaks and gameplay changes are being used in PoE 1. We are essentially the beta testers for potential PoE 2 systems. I get it, but it doesn't feel right, and it hasn't again for years now. I can't really phrase it any more eloquently than that, and frankly, I don't think I need to. I am certain that there is a fairly large chunk of the player base that shares the same sentiment, and again, my goal is to simply create discourse on these things. So, what do you think? For the questionable gameplay choices, personally, I can excuse those as the beta testing that we're doing for PoE 2. As someone who's been playing for almost a decade, I'm cool with that. But for you newer players, you probably feel a bit differently. And regarding the MTX, to me, there's no excuse. GGG is being scummy. It's simple as that. The way they push loot boxes is indicative of nothing else to me. But if you disagree, I would love to hear why. Again, I absolutely love this game and will continue to recommend it to new players. Just, these are all things that I'd like to see improve is all. Thank you for watching.